Chairman. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
All right, Yawanko Kirby. All right, with that, we have special recognition for years of service this morning, so I will turn it over to Laura.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Oneida Business Committee and everyone in participation. And I'd like to acknowledge all the employees here today to be recognized for their 25 through 40 years of service to the Oneida Nation. So the process will be, I'll go through, I'll read the name, how many years of service they have, and then the employee with their supervisor, if they'd please come up, or whoever may be here to recognize them, to come up to the mic. And at the end, as I shared, we'll all get together to take a picture with the business committee and make sure that you get your recognition that is well-deserved. The first employee I'd like to invite up for 40 years of service is Connie Vandenberg.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Hill and committee members and the Oneida community. It is my honor, true honor, to present Connie Vandenberg to be recognized for 40 years of service to the Oneida Community Health Clinic and to the community at large. Connie's a registered nurse that started during the very early days of the clinic in the last century, around 1985. She started in the old facility on Double E and walked to work for 17 years. She lived across the street. That was very helpful. When she started in those early days, there were only 3 other people who were employed in the clinic, including Ella Sauer, Mary Rosenthal, and Deb Danforth. Over time, she honed her nursing skills and patient care. It did take her a little while to gain the trust of the community, as she had a different look. Today, she's one of the most trusted nurses working in the building. Even back then, the clinic was growing. She wanted to make sure I mentioned the first clinic extension of the trailers. Over time, the current clinic facility was built, and she has a clear memory thinking that our building was huge. A little different from today, we're utilizing every nook and cranny to accommodate a rapid expansion of providers and needing to expand again. The greatest challenges she associates with were the temporary providers that we had to utilize for quite a while. Nursing's challenge during those times was to provide the continuity of care for the community. It was mostly through her efforts that the clinic provided consistent care and maintained a personal touch. Knowing consistency and trust have a great impact on health. Her greatest satisfaction was when the clinic integrated team-based care. She now has seen how a team of providers benefit our patients and how this care model increases communication between patients and providers and builds trust with consistent care. Our patients and providers work as a team. Connie often gets asked how many generations she's provided care for. At last count, she has cared for 3 generations of our community. She's now caring for the grandchildren of her first patients. It's important to note that Connie also cares for staff and providers. She works to make sure everyone is working in the clinic is cared for, and she helps resolve any issues. I've had the privilege of working with Connie since 2021, and I'm so grateful for her patience and her experience. She generously shares her knowledge, and not just for for nursing, but for the community, culture, and even our building. She knows where the plumbing is, okay? We seek out her wisdom on a regular basis. Connie's nursing care is outstanding. Her care is apparent to all, whether assisting staff on the phone or in person, caring for our newest members through our wisest elders. Everyone here is invited to recognize her for 40 years of service.
Congratulations, Connie and Yawanko. You can please head over to Teresa, and she has a basket and a blanket for you. Next, I'd like to recognize Cheryl Stevens. And Cheryl has 35 years of service, and on her behalf today, we have the General Manager, Mark, sharing some words of gratitude.
Good morning. So Cheryl worked 35 years just to not be here today. She's traveling today, so Brandon will be accepting this honor on her behalf. It's my honor to recognize someone whose name has become synonymous with dedication, resilience, and results. That's Cher Stevens. For 35 years, Cher has been quite the force behind some of the most impactful programs and services in the Oneida Nation, from her humble beginnings as a tour guide, making $3.81 an hour. Yep, you heard that right, $3.81 an hour, to becoming the powerhouse behind over 100 or hundreds of millions of dollars in grant funding. Cher has shown us what it means to lead with heart, hustle, and humor. She's been a grant writing ninja, working behind the scenes, dodging deadlines, slaying applications, and somehow making federal compliance look easy. And let's not forget, she did this while raising 5 children, cheering on 20 grandchildren, and still finding time to spike volleyballs and swing golf clubs like a pro. Nearing retirement, she's still more active than most of us were at 25 years old. Cher's legacy is not just in the dollars raised or the programs launched. It's in the lives changed, the opportunities created, and the examples that she's set for generations to come. She's shown us that hard work, integrity, and a little bit of stubbornness can move mountains, or at least get a Buffalo grant approved. On behalf of the Oneida Nation, thank you for her unwavering commitment, incredible leadership, and her contagious spirit. She's left a mark that will be felt for decades to come.
And thank you. Yanko to Vice Chairman Yellowbird Stevens for collecting on her behalf. The next employee I'd like to recognize for 35 years of service is Charles John.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Leah Dodge. I'm the Oneida Casino Custodial Manager, and it's my great pleasure to recognize Charles John, one of our custodians, for his 35 years of service to the Oneida Nation. It's actually, I think, around 40 years, but 30 years or 35 years in our continuous department as custodian, cleaning the casino. Around the casino, Charles is legendary, but we're going to stick to the facts here. Out of our many employees, we usually run around 110 employees. I would have to say Charles John is one of my top 5, if not the top 3, of people who have shown amazing dedication. They're very dependable, very hardworking. You can really thank him for his efforts in all of these years in making sure that our casino facilities are presentable to the public. Cleaning is always an interesting job. You don't always notice it when it's done well, but you definitely notice if it hasn't been done or hasn't been done well. And I really have to thank Charles for all of his dedication. Even I look up to him for some inspiration in how I deal with our employees, because it's definitely a challenge sometimes. Because we all have the main goal, and Charles is a perfect example of what somebody can do when they're very dedicated. They take much ownership in their efforts towards the betterment of their tribe, or their Oneida Nation as a whole. And Charles, I really like to thank you. It's my pleasure to say congratulations for 35 years. If I could say 35 years more, that would be great. And one more thing in closing, if I could have Charles work 24 hours a day, I could probably let about 10 people go, but can't, there's a limit. Even he has its limit. So thank you, Charles.
Yeah. Yonko. Next, I'd like to recognize Cindy Couture. Cindy has 30 years of service.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing us this presentation this morning. Cindy has been working with or on behalf of the United Casino Hotel for the past 30 years, starting with the security team in 1995, and then moving to the surveillance department in 1996, and finally joining the Oneida Casino Hotel accounting team in October 2013. During Cindy's tenure with the Oneida Casino Hotel accounting team over the past 12 years, there's a few things I learned about Cindy. First and foremost, she's very meticulous. If you look at her desk, you would understand why. It's got to irritate her when she comes into my office because it's not the same. She is very prompt with her work and ensures her work project is very professional and detailed at all times. She practices our daily unified trust accelerators. Cindy enjoys working out and does so religiously. Cindy also enjoys her healthy shakes. I know that. She also likes to go up north a lot on the weekends, but I don't know if she enjoys working up north every single weekend. She enjoys live music, family, friends, and is a very caring and compassionate employee. During our time working together, there are also some things I admire about her, such as being a mentor to others or training individuals on processes, helping out whenever she's needed, and keeping me on track with reminders. So Cindy is truly an asset to the United Casino Hotel as well as the Oneida Nation. Cindy is not only a colleague, but a friend. And with that, I want to say congratulations on 30 years of service to the Oneida Nation, and thank you for everything that you do.
Yonko, Cindy. Next, I'd like to recognize Elizabeth Schwantes. And I'd welcome Deborah Danforth up to recognize Elizabeth for her 30 years of service.
Thank you. Betty wasn't able to be here today. She is on vacation, but I did say that we needed to still take this opportunity to recognize all the efforts that Betty has contributed to the nation. So she has 30 years of service. She began as the WIC outpatient dietitian in May of 1995 at the Old Health Center's WIC and Nutrition Office. In 2006, after being credentialed as a certified diabetes educator, Betty transitioned to dietitian diabetes educator to hold a prominent role in the medical clinic. Betty's committed to teaching the Oneida community about diabetes prevention and control as she counsels and educates patients day in and day out. She loves to stay current on nutrition and diabetes trends to provide the best care to her patients. Betty's fun and happy demeanor make her a joy to work for and work both with patients and staff. Over the years, Betty has been a part of many nutrition events, including the historic diabetic luncheons for elders, the National Nutrition Month celebrations, Triad educational presentations, and Betty was part of the first group with the creation of Triad that was formally recognized as one of the most promising diabetic prevention programs by the Indian Health Service. Betty's also been a part of the Youth Family Fun Night events, and last but not least, the annual diabetes events. In 1999, Betty worked with the Special Diabetes Program for Indians Grant to host the first community diabetes awareness event held at the Parish Hall. Continuing for the 23rd year, Betty is now co-coordinating this successful event, leading and mentoring staff and Oneida citizens to endure the fight against diabetes in the community. Please join me in thanking Betty for her service to the Oneida Nation, and congratulations on 30 years. Thank you.
For any employees that were unable to make it today, there has been communication from the Human Resources Department, and they're able to pick up their blankets at Human Resources at any time. So I just want to let everybody know that we'll make sure that they get their recognition with their certificate and their blanket. Next, I'd like to recognize for 30 years of service, Kurt Jordan.
Good morning. I'm Nicole Rummel. I'm going to be congratulating Kurt today on his 30 years of service. And just when he started in 1995, he started here as a security guard and was here for a few months and then went to land management, and he's been at land management ever since. So I think many of us know who Kurt Jordan is because he's been cruising this reservation for 30 years. And before, he's born and raised here, and he takes pride in what he does and knows the reservation like the back of his hand. We owned about 5,000 acres when he started, and we're up to, I think it's 26 or 27,000. He has probably walked all of that 27,000 acres in the 30 years that he's been here. He has done many things over the years. Started in maintenance on our rentals, and 7 years ago has become the project manager and really stepped into the stride with helping keep the land and the buildings maintained and caretaking, like land management is for, is caretaking, and Kurt's been that caretaker all these years. There's been many changes over the years. He's always taken it in stride, and I would put in here that his name is really Hey Kurt, because that's what I say. Hey Kurt, go do this, or hey Kurt, I drove to work this morning and there's a truck on our property. It's not supposed to be there. Go look at it, and he'll go look at it and get it taken care of. So one other thing that he's done over the years, there's buildings that are not up to par and they have to come down, and the count is 160 demolitions that he's been in charge of. And if you think about it, we could have had 160, not so nice buildings with a bunch of critters living in them. Eyesores, thank you, over the years. So he, like I said, really knows what he's doing. He tells the best stories. I have to read my notes. Tells the best stories about hunting and fishing, and oh my God, I saw a 40-pointer, and and it's at land management. We have the woods behind the building, and I can't see deer. He'll look out there, oh, look at all those deer over there. And I'm like, I don't see any deer. Nobody can see them but him. So he knows where all the deer are on the reservation. If you need to find out, that's where to go. So I just want to say he's a great guy, great to work with, always there for you, and congratulations. And again, like someone else said, you have to stay for 30 more years because of all the knowledge that you have. So you're stuck with us. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You want to say anything? No? Tell a story.
No stories. There's a man that used to work here years ago, Jerry Krowski. He's got a lot of knowledge in his head, and that's where I'm at. I have a lot of knowledge, and we did have some young men, women that come through that shadowed us, kind of, worked with us, and it really inspires me that we do that more, because we're getting older, we're going to retire. I mean, you can write stuff down, SOPs, this, that, and the other thing, but it's the knowledge of hands-on, knowing the land and the reservation. So I'd like to do more of that if we could before I retire. I don't know when that's going to be. I'll be 60 next month. I love working here, 7 minutes from work. I got 12 grandkids, really busy, but I really enjoy working for the nation and helping out wherever I can, and you can ask anybody. There's no silo by us, so I help everybody out that I possibly can. If I can't, I network and find a way to get it done. So I really enjoyed all my years working, and couldn't work for a better place, but I just wish we could do a little more shadowing with the high school kids or what have you, bring them along and show them what we do, because I inspired one young man not too long ago, Connor Cornelius, and he really enjoyed it, and he was amazed at how much we did. So thank you.
Yonko, thank you for that feedback and those wise words. Next, I'd like to recognize Susanna Jordan. Susanna has 25 years of service with Oneida.
Good morning, Troy Parr presenting Susanna Jordan for 25 years of service, and I'll agree with Kurt, if anyone knows how to knock down a silo, it's Kurt and Susanna who work together in demoing a lot of silos. So it's my honor and privilege this morning to present Susanna for her 25 years of service. Taking a cue from Lisa Summers at the last years of service I attended and presented what was going on in the world the week that Susanna was hired. And I just wanted to note on the Sunday of her hire date, which was Sunday the 23rd of the year 2000, there was a tornado outbreak, and it was known as Easter Sunday tornadoes. 28 tornadoes in a 7-hour period that happened in a region across the U.S. The NASDAQ hit 5,000 that year. It's now at 21,000. And it marked the beginning of the end of the .com boom. And last, the India population hit 1 billion. Today it's 1.4 billion. So as American Indians, we have a long way to go here. Back to Susanna, her actual start date, as she would point out very clearly, was April 25th, 1999. However, because she was considered a seasonal groundskeeping employee at that time, it did not count to her cumulative years of service and all her hard work with the groundskeeping crew. She's been cold through the winters, she's been hot in the summers, and she's done it all with a smile on her face the past 26 years. When Susanna joined groundskeeping as seasonal and then became part of the crew, her first supervisor was Leroy Cornelius, and she remembers digging ponds, loading trucks full of material, and cutting grass, lots of grass. Over the course of her groundskeeping career, went from seasonal to groundskeeping 1, cut more grass, groundskeeping 2, a lot more grass, became a groundskeeping supervisor, managed people who cut grass, the assistant groundskeeping manager, making sure all the grass was cut, and then the actual groundskeeping manager. And she did a whole lot of it, again, with a smile on her face and taking care of her staff while she did. She was active on the job for many years and then transitioned to the office as a manager, and eventually managed a team that she was very proud of with groundskeeping. When I talked to Susanna about her experience, she pointed out that her experience in managing here in Oneida gave her a deeper appreciation for her own tribe. And the one thing that I quickly picked up on is Susanna was truly working with the humanity of her staff as well as managing productivity. She truly cares and still does about the human side of people that she manages, and she made sure all her staff were thriving, not only in their work that they performed, but in their personal lives, health, and interests. And in about 2015, Susanna was already had her hands full in managing the groundskeeping department and crews. And we came a call in from Tribal Transportation Program and asked Susanna if she'd give us a hand with a few things. And Susanna actually took even more on her plate at that point, and she began building additional capacity in her crews, teaching them new things. We got them new equipment, and we're able to help her meet some of her goals of improving her team through our work with TTP. In 2020, even further accelerated that engagement with tribal transportation. Susanna herself took on a lot more responsibilities with tribal transportation, and she managed projects. And I would say over the past 5 years, Susanna has managed nearly $1 million worth of transportation improvement projects. If you think of the beautiful community-sensitive design we have here in Oneida, that was all refreshed and managed by Susanna. She didn't do all the work, but she shifted to a role of project managing all of that work. Susanna definitely gives credit to Jackie Boyle, her longtime supervisor, for her ongoing mentoring and guidance that she's given her to grow into tribal management and groundskeeping. And Susanna's very excited now in her new role to continue improving the transportation facilities we have here on the reservation. And I like this, in her own words, she said, "I know this land," much like Mr. Jordan had said. She knows this land. She's been on it, she's walked it, she's ridden it, has thousands of miles on that lawnmower and in the snowplows. And I believe and I truly hope that she'll be in this position for a long time to serve the community as our multimodal transportation manager. And it's my privilege to present her as her most recent manager, although working with Susanna for a lot of years. Congratulations, Susanna.
Y'all go, Susanna. And thank you for the many of you that were able to be here today. We really appreciate that. Next, I'd like to recognize Kelly Walensky. Kelly also has 25 years of service.
Good morning. I'm Nina Vang. I'm one of the nursing supervisors at the clinic. I'm Connie's counterpart. I don't think a lot of people know who I am. So I've had the pleasure of working with Kelly for the past couple years. Kelly started at the clinic, the old clinic, in the year 2000. Side note, I was a sophomore in high school, so I just wanted to add that. Kelly definitely is a huge asset to the clinic. She knows everything within the clinic. She's definitely my go-to if I have any questions about processes or who to contact if Connie's not there. She's a go-to for all the nursing staff as well as the providers for assistance. She's roomed patients, she's done nurse only, and now she's definitely the most experienced triage nurse. Huge assets to the triage department as we changed and worked in new processes, got new programs. She also assists in orientating new staff. So congratulations, Kelly, on 25 years.
Y'all go. Next, I'd like to recognize for 25 years of service, Christopher Winkle.
Good morning, and Sagoli Swakwake. Today we celebrate a truly special milestone for Security Officer Chris Winkle, 25 years with the Security Department and the Oneida Nation. Chris started in the department on June 4th of 2000 and has taken on various tasks and responsibilities such as field training and more recently retail surveillance officer. Chris has been a steady, trusted presence, someone who is reliable and find ways to promote a positive team environment amongst his peers. You will often catch Chris with a smile on his face. Chris will extend a helping hand to his peers outside of work because he believes in being a nice person. Chris takes pride in being a husband to his wife, Katie, and a dad to his daughter, Abby. On a personal note, I enjoy hearing about his family updates when I see him. On behalf of the entire security team, thank you for your 25 years of service to the department and nation, and he already committed to another 30 more years after today. So congratulations, Chris.
Next, I'd like to recognize Bradley Skenendor for 25 years of service.
Good morning. On June 11th, 2025, Brad celebrated his 25th anniversary with the Oneida Nation. We have been fortunate to have Brad on our team since October 30th of 2022. Prior to working with us, Brad spent 22 years in the drop count area. He brought to us his expansive knowledge of drop count, which only develops after years of working in a specific area. His knowledge and understanding is invaluable to the work that we do. I am honored to have this opportunity to celebrate this milestone with Brad and appreciate all the effort he has put into his current position of staff auditor. Brad is a fast learner, does not make repeated mistakes, he is patient, and he strives to do a better job with each new assignment. His personality makes him a people person, which when you think of audit, you don't think of being a people pleaser, but he makes it work by continually having a smile or giggle with whoever he's around. He brings a fresh perspective to our department and helps us to see things from a different angle. We are fortunate he chose to work with us, and we appreciate him and his dedication to the Oneida Nation. Thank you, Brad, for allowing us to share this journey with you.
All right, and the last person we'd like to recognize that is here today is Scott Lalonde. And again, Scott has 25 years of service with the Oneida Nation.
Hello, thank you all for the invite today. I am pleasured to honor Scott Lalonde for his 25 years of service. My name is Heidi Blanks. I'm supervisor with Oneida Behavioral Health. Scott is a clinical substance abuse counselor for all 25 years with the nation, specialist in the field of addictions. I have the pleasure to get to watch you do what you do every day. You you're very committed and loyal. I don't know that you've ever called in sick in the whole time I've been a supervisor. So Scott shows up every day, ready to work. You've provided countless services over the years, individual therapy, many, many groups, anger management, Two-Spirit, the diabetes program, many, many substance abuse and addictions groups, aftercare being your specialty. You show up every day with a smile on your face. You're always willing to help. If there's ever somebody who can't come into work or we need a position to fill, you're one of the first people that volunteers. I think also one of the very special things about you, I think of, am I gonna forget it now on the spot? The quote by Maya Angelou, people may forget what you did or they may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I think every community event that I've ever been to, someone comes up to me to tell me about Scott Lalonde. And I think some of the favorite things I've heard, it's always you're hilarious, you're fun, you're a great dresser, you're a nice person. But I've also heard things like, Scott was one of the only people who ever made me feel safe. And I've heard things like, Scott was a person who gave me the hope to get to recovery. So I hope that you realize the honor it is to work with you and to get to see and hear, those stories. And thank you for your 25 years of service to Oneida Nation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go to all of you who are here and came to present for the employees. I would like to go through, as you have seen on the PowerPoint, we have all of the employees that have reached the milestone in the last quarter from 40 to 25 years. And I'd like to take a moment to just read through their names, and if we could give a round of applause at the end of that. First, I'd like to recognize Tony Smith for 40 years. Arlen Parkhurst for 35. Erwin Danforth for 35. Now I'll move on to the 30, so let's do for 35. It's too hard to wait that long to applaud these accomplishments. Next, I'll go through the 30 years. We have Jennifer Shabo, Jesselyn Harvath, Paul Nick, Paula Fish, Maria Danforth, Kent Brunette, Paul Hoffman, and those are for 30 years, so congratulations. And the rest of these employees are all for 25 years. So we have Thomas Dessart Jr., Matt Pensis, Lambert Metoxen, Secretary Lisa Liggins, Vicki Cornelius, Chantel Metoxen, Autumn White, Rhonda Hockren, Anthony Schultz, and Deborah Johnson. So congratulations to them. Next, if we could have the recipients for their acknowledgement and their blankets today, head over and I'd like the BC to acknowledge them and then have pictures taken. Go ahead on.
All right, thank you. And before that, I know Vice Chairman
Yes.
Susan wanted to say something for Secretary Liggins as well.
So Secretary Liggins is
Yeah.
on here for 25 years, and she does not like the recognition stuff. But it's been a pleasure working with her. I know up here on this floor and within this body, she's never wrong, really. Because she's always stating facts. She can recite a resolution from like 1990 and tell you the exact title of the resolution, and so we don't really fight with her too much. We try, but it always fails. But just to work with her, you have to get to know her. She's a very kind person, loves her family, family first, but she doesn't come off that way. You know, those who come to the meeting, she's very straight to the point, wants to get to the business, and always has the solution for us, even if it's not what she wants. I think that's the biggest thing with her up here. When we're on both sides of two issues, she has a solution for all of us, and she puts her own feelings aside and she gets us moving. So I think that's a testament to where she's been. She's been at Trust for a while, and she came up here and she really straightened us up as far as like getting her business done, getting agenda items, getting the secretary's office to a place where it's open and people can come to for information. So I just wanted to say that much about Lisa, and even though she would definitely not want us to talk about her and recognize her, she always strays away. She's like, just give me the work, I'll get it done. And when we're talking about a memo, she's already writing the memo before we even finish talking about it. So I just want to say those few things about Lisa, our secretary, and congratulations, Lisa, if you are watching. She probably is.
All right, go ahead, Larry.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. We just want to acknowledge all the employees and value your hard work, dedication, expertise, and what you bring to the community. So on behalf of the Business Committee, we recognize you today. Congratulations, and hope for another 30, 40, 50 years. Thank you.
All right, yes. Congratulations to all. If we can get all the recipients of the recognition today to come forward over here, and we'll get the group picture taken care of and get you on your way. So again, thank you.
this morning. I pure guilt. I told them.
All right, everyone. Thanks everyone again for participation in the Years of Service recognition. With that, also noting for the record that we are on a slim crew today. We got 4 council members out on approved travel, so we're down to the 5 minimum requirement for quorum for the day. So everyone, please keep that in mind as we try to get through this agenda. All right, look, we got 3 additions to the agenda. The first one being a travel request for myself to the 2025 DCCC Leadership Circle weekend in La Jolla, California, July 31st through August 3rd. The next addition would be under General Travel Council. Item B be the resignation, and then executive session add-on chief counsel report with the opioid settlement and a denial letter. And then there's also 3 handouts noted, so the places things were on the agenda, but they're printed as handouts and available. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with the 3 additions.
So moved.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Marlon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, first item up is minutes. Item A, the July 9th, 2025 regular business committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Kirby.
Second.
Seconded by Marlon. Any just discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to resolutions. Item A, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida Bingo and Casino.
So moved.
Motion by Kirby, seconded by Larry. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item B, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida Casino Travel Center.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kirby, seconded by Marlon. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item C, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida Golf Enterprise. Motion by Larry,
Support.
supported by Marlon. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item D, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida Hotel.
Support. So moved.
Motion by Marlon,
Support.
supported by Kirby. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item E, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida Nation 4 Pass.
So moved.
Motion by Kirby, Seconded by Larry. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item F, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida One Stop Larson. Motion by Larry.
Second.
Second by Marlon. All those, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item G, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida One Stop Packerland.
So moved.
Motion by Marlon.
Support.
Supported by Kirby. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item H, adopt the resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida One Stop E&E. Motion by Larry.
Support.
Supported by Kirby. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item I, adopt resolution entitled approval of 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida One Stop West Wind.
So moved.
Motion by Marlon.
Support.
Supported by Kirby. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item J, adopt resolution entitled approval of the 2025-2026 alcohol beverage license for the Oneida West Wind Oneida West Mason Casino. Motion by Larry.
Second.
Second by Marlon. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item K, adopt resolution entitled authorize use of the $24,802,000 carryover funds for the construction CIP 16-011 Recreation Complex.
So moved.
Motion by Brandon.
Second.
Second by Marlon. Discussion? Any discussion from the committee? Brandon?
Yeah, so I'd just like to I thank the whole team. I think this was a big effort and conversation we had the other week about, first we had to go through the general manager's budget as well, which kind of was the sacrificial lamb, but definitely understood, but understands though the importance of this project to the community. And to help finance, Rolinda getting the support from the committee and giving sound advice on how we can move forward in the best possible way while limiting the carryover from year to year. And I think that was the main concern for Larry, as is in his former life as well, is that carryover is trying to limit that year over year so we could utilize those funds and they don't sit there for 2 years while they're being audited. And so this really was a combination of efforts of all that and really come to an agreement that we can and have the ability to fund this important project. General Tribal Council did emphasize that this project was on top of the priority list. And so thank you, Rolinda and finance area and everyone else that had to bring this forward to get it over the finish line for the funding. Now we still have to get a few more things in line before this is a realized project, but for now this is a resolution being brought forward is to allocate the funds. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Rolinda?
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. I do apologize. I noticed that there are 2 typos on the resolution. The header has the incorrect dollar amount. It says 25,673. It should be 24,802. And also line 45 states option 5, and it should be option 4. I apologize for those errors. I'm not as good at multitasking as I used to be.
All right, thank you for noting the corrections to the resolution.
So just note that in the motion, the noted changes.
Yeah, the noted corrections. Yep. All right, Marlon?
Do we make a for the record statements after You can go right now? Okay. First off, just don't want to carry my own sentiments. I think this is a monumental decision we've done for our youth here. I want to congratulate Mark for pushing this forward and everybody that involved that provide input. I'm glad we were able to make something happen during this term, but they haven't. I believe this is their second option. They were trying to get to 30 million to get the best facility possible. So I would just like to say, for recreation, the general manager area, to continue to push for other funding to get to that final stretch. I mean, there was looking at Cliffy and Tammy Webster were willing to donate some funds in the past, but also maybe a capital campaign, doing something a little different to get to the final stretch. We were able to put up, 24, almost $25 million. I think fundraising $5 million to finish off this recreation and get the absolute option that you wanted, I think is a viable option. I just want to make for the record statement, this is on behalf of Councilman Jonas Hill, Secretary Lisa Liggins, Councilwoman Jennifer Webster, and Councilman Jamison Wilson, is intended to register the unanimous support of the entire Oneida Business Committee for the resolution approving funding for the Capital Improvement Project, CIP 16-011 Recreation Complex. At the July 3rd, 2025 OBC work session, the OBC came to consensus to approve the use of carryover funds in the amount of $24,806,000 for the CIP 16-011 Oneida Rec Complex. It's also noted that Councilman Jonas Hill, Secretary Lisa Liggins, Councilwoman Jennifer Webster, and Councilman Jamison Wilson would not be in attendance at the July 23rd, 2025 Oneida Business Committee meeting due to approved business travel. This statement serves as our support to this resolution in our absence, and would like to record to be noticed as such. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marlon, for reading into the record the support for the absent council members. Mark?
Also would like to recognize the staff at Recreation, Arlene and her team. They did a great job working with all the direction that was provided on this project. Also our planning area, who is instrumental in all of these projects and continually provides expert guidance on how we move forward with these major types of projects. Of course, this was and is a priority of the GTC. We have a lot of people in this community that grew up in recreation, and now this will help to ensure that our future generations will have a safe place and a quality environment to grow up in moving forward. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Brandon?
Yeah, and just to further that, we didn't just find the money. And I think I want to emphasize that we wanted to tell GTC, hey, we can figure this out. Just give us some time. And that's what our message was at GTC. Just give us some time. And that was just, and this, to be frank, on the backs of program delivery, expansion, and further developing our programming. And I think that's where we really had to go back to our resolution that said, only the 3% increases were going to be budgeted. And so Mark's not bringing this budget up just because he wants to spend more money. He wants to expand services and provide better programming for our community. And that this project comes at a little bit of a cost of the expansion portion of it, but not as the existing program service delivery, there's still there. So I just want to make sure, just for the community's consumption, that, there is kind of a cost of maybe opportunity cost that's lost here when we're waiting for the expansion yet. And so that's where the planning, proper, redevelopment of program delivery, all of the things that Mark's areas are doing currently now, still trying to provide the same or more with the same or less. So I just wanted to make sure that, that we didn't just find the money, we just had to make some hard choices moving forward in particularly Mark's area, that we had to make, and also thank you for your areas that are gonna move forward. And Arlene's area as well, I mean, they had a very passionate group there, and I just, it was hard to say no now. And this is hopefully getting that to the finish line where Marlon, you know, has that idea that we can do a little bit more as well. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'll go to community member Nancy Barton. You got 5 minutes. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that we do mention Lindsay Blackowl. I do believe, you know, that if she hadn't come to GTC with her petition, that, you know, for people who have been around this community, know how long everything takes. And so I sure do appreciate when young people have the energy to do these kind of things. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. You know, Lindsay has a family, and I sure do appreciate, you know, her passion. Unfortunately, that's what it took to get this project to move forward. Things were crumbling around, and people sat in it, and how unfortunate. So I just wanted to mention that. I have a question regarding the carryover funds. You know, I don't have the exact amount, 24 million. Is that correct? 24,800,000. Does that zero out the carryover funds from 2024? I'm still learning all of this kind of budget stuff, and so it's important. You know, I mentioned this before. Sometimes I'm off by $20. I don't have a good enough memory as I used to, but I'm kind of, you know, in the range. And so if somebody comes forward, you know, in November and says, I need $10 million for something, is there a balance in that pot of money? My other question is, kind of a light bulb went off about the other day when the statement came out that, you know, the COVID money is zeroed out. There are things that are zeroed out. And so my question was, what about the years before? What about like 2020, 2021, 2022, if there was carryover? Because I know there's new rules regarding carryover. You can't just budget to the moon and back and not spend it. And I don't have that exact verbiage and resolution, but I know that there have been measures put in place to prevent things like a $40 and $50 million carryover. So that's my question. My other question is the community development, diversification, planning money from OTI. I still can't get over the word OTI. There's a pot of money there. And was that looked into? And if it was or wasn't, you know, they have a lot of money that comes back to the tribe for projects like this. And so that's, you know, my other question. My other question is there a project manager assigned, because the normal everyday person on the street, including me, doesn't know that this project will be moving forward? Where is it going to be built? What is it going to have? And so the education or the communication to the community is, you know, crucial. One other comment that I thought of that I want to make about this recreation center that has gone on for many, many, many years by people who sat up on the stage and who are no longer here with us is that, you know, those kind of facilities are open during the day when our kids are in school. And they need to be open at night, and they need to be open on the weekends. And it's an ongoing conversation that has happened. And then the conversation becomes, well, the employees have families, and the employees, and so to accommodate your population that you're servicing, you know, I don't know if it needs to be shift work and you need to include weekends and nights, but you do, because those are the kids that we need to keep track of. We need to watch them. We need to watch our kids. So those are my questions and my comments, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Larry?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will ask the CFO to address the carryover questions as to the project management, facility design, schedule, certainly that encumbers the general manager's area. That is all forthcoming. Importantly, to give context to those that are participating in the meeting, we did, leadership, take a tour of the facility, and it's well past its useful cycle of having a safe, I guess, no way other to describe it other than a deteriorating building. I don't say that disrespectfully, but that is part of the driver to getting that facility going as far as necessity. But the carryover questions, I'll defer to Relinda. We are actively trying to mitigate and limit carryover as part of our budget process. But there is a residual balance that does come forward, so I'll defer those financial questions there. Thank you.
Relinda?
Thank you. The resolution identifies that after approval of this use for carryover funds, there will be a balance of $18,811,683. That balance does not include any consideration of the $17,570,809 that's currently in the fiscal year 25 budget that was utilized to balance our sources and uses, because we do not know how fiscal year 25 will end, and those funds are not available until after they have been audited. So basically, odd years are available and odd years even and even. Those funds are not available. The balances, sorry, it took me a minute to remember what the other question was. The balance of carryover funds is accumulation of carryover funds from fiscal year 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. There were no carryover funds in fiscal year 2024. Please remember that the 2033 land acquisition plan also identifies 25% of any of the carryover in a fiscal year is allocated to land acquisition. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Relinda. Tina?
Morning. I just wanted to answer or respond to the comment that recreation isn't open when the children are available during the week, because their current hours are 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. So they are available for the children. In fact, they don't have enough time to set up programming, because they only get about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the kids start getting there. And that's for the after school program. For the summer program, they're open during the day, and they run summer youth programs. So that wasn't an accurate statement to say that they're not available when the kids are available. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tina. Yeah, come to the mic, Kathy. All right, Kathy, you got 5 minutes. Thank you.
My question is for Tina then. What about Saturdays and Sundays when the children are off, or if they're playing with guns or something? You know, where's a place for them on the weekends? And does anybody think of them on the weekends? When it's hot, when it's cold, when it's, you know, we're supposed to be thinking about our future, you know, so talk about inaccurate statements. What is the accurate statement for Saturday and Sunday, the most important days of the week for our children? Thank you.
Did you want me to respond?
Yeah, sure, but just noting that we're starting to kind of get off of topic here, talking about the CIP project, but if you can just please respond briefly, thank you.
So when the pandemic happened, the rec staff were all let go. They were all furloughed. And when we were able to return staff from furlough, I was able to bring back Arloween only. And Arlene had to start from scratch and still doesn't have the same staffing level that she had prior to COVID. So, and is still able to operate even the hours that she is. So if we would like to expand Saturday, possibly Sundays, but we would need to increase our workforce and probably our supply budget. There would be a lot of increases that we would need, but we could do it.
All right, thank you, Tina, for the response. All right, any other discussion on the adoption of the resolution? All right, seeing none, there is a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution title authorized use of $24,802,000 carryover funds to fund the construction of CIP 16-011 Recreation Complex. With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, thanks everyone for the discussion. Moving on to item L, adopt resolution entitled Participation in the Gunhio Annual Conference.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Larry makes the motion, supported by Kirby. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item M, adopt resolution entitled Use of Wisconsin Tribal Assistance Grant Funds.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
All right, motion by Marlin.
Second.
Second for discussion, Brandon.
Yeah. I agree we need these. It's just the use of the grant funds. I almost feel this is like an organizational budgeting thing where we could use those grant funds for something else. You know, that's community-based. So I think that's kind of where I'm just at but it is kind of like an outside of thing that we don't typically would have done without longer planning. So this allows us to do it a lot quicker. So that's kind of why I'm in the boat where this is it takes a little while sometimes with the planning to do something a little outside of the box, but in alignment with the need of the community. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Brandon. I guess just noting for the community as well, the proposed uses for the $50,000, that's the last of that money we got from the state, and in 2023, the Oneida Public Works Division will purchase and install Knox boxes for tribal facilities to allow emergency responders. This activity will be coordinated with the Oneida Fire Marshal, Tanya Hill, utilizing $28,000. The second project is the Oneida Public Works Division will update the AED cabinets in our facilities utilizing $11,200. And then the Oneida Public Works will provide repairs and updates to our parks utilization for $10,800. All right, any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item N, adopt resolution titled Submission of the Oneida Nation Public Law 102477 Plan to the U.S. Department of Interior. Very lengthy document.
We killed a few trees with this one, I'm afraid. All right, good morning. On page 84 of your packet is a motion to adopt a resolution titled Submission of Oneida Nation 477 Plan to the U.S. Department of Interior. Included in the submission is a memo from myself and Jessica Vandekamp from Economic and Community Support, a copy of the plan, a copy of the amended 477 federal law, the tribal resolution SOE. So just to give a quick background, the intent of the 477 program is to streamline and consolidate our federal grant programs related to employment, training, related services into a single plan, a single budget, and reporting system. So the point is to give us more control as a nation to set our own tribal priorities, reduce paperwork, administrative burdens, and make programs more efficient, reduce the paperwork on our clients and economic support, and reduce the paperwork for our staff and our accounting teams. And there are over 300 federally recognized tribes that are already participating in 477. And I'll hand it over to Jessica, who's really spearheaded this and taken this on and has been put together a great team, not only from her area, but from accounting and other departments to make this change.
Great. Sagoli, good morning. So I'm not sure exactly where you want me to start, but basically this is taking 7 budgets, 7 different funds, and putting them all into one big pot of money. And it allows us to be able to use the funds as we need to, but it's all towards creating stabilization, self-sufficiency. That's the goal. So any of the funds, for example, we have our child care funds, the CCDF funding. There's quite a bit of money that has not been liquidated over the years prior to my starting in this position that we will be able to save from being turned back into the federal government. So that's part of it. We're also not using any more tribal contributions, so we're able to cut that out. And then also it's kind of like we are a one-stop shop at economic support, but this is more about collaborating, cross-training staff. So it's going from 3 different applications that customers have to fill out to just one intake system. So there's a lot of benefits for the clients, for our staff, as Brandon had mentioned, but I think it's also a really great opportunity for us to be exercising our sovereignty. It's really about taking the reins on our funds and doing what is best for our community and our tribal members, rather than having to do these reports and those kinds of things. So it gives us more freedom to spend our money the way we want to. Did you have any questions on the report or any other specifics?
All right, I think Mark might have a statement.
Yeah, I just want to recognize Jessica and the team that has been moving this forward. It can be difficult for a new program manager, a new director, to come in and carry forward an existing project. This was a conversation under Delia, but Jessica has really picked this up and ran with it and successfully moved it forward. This is a major step forward for the nation from the standpoint of efficiently using grant funds and also efficiently providing services to tribal membership. So I just want to recognize the great work by Jessica and her team. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Any questions from the committee at this point? Marlon?
Just a couple of statements, I guess. I've always been a big proponent of economic support. It helped me whenever I was younger, trying to bounce back, helping with family, from anything from helping get my car fixed, from food stamps, which I'm no longer eligible for a very long time. But I always looked at it as a good program, as a hand up whenever you're struggling to get to a position where you have less stress on you, where you can pay your light bills. And I think this plan to consolidate everything and make it a one-stop shop, I think is good for us as a whole community, as a nation as well. People coming out of incarceration, being able to get assistance that they need. So good work on everybody. Kudos to everybody that worked on this. I know there isn't a lot of tribes that have done this, and self-governance has always been top-notch here with Oneida Nation, as I've learned over the past couple of years. So appreciate everybody's work and keep it up.
Thank you, Marlon. Brandon?
Yeah, so speaking with Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, we talked about this program a bit and the self-governance expansion. And so they know about self-governance, self-determination, but when we're able to show them how it works and how it's operating, they really like the idea. And then we bring in the federal government's direction right now, and we try to align with some of the context that they're trying to do. Limit big government, local control, and discretionary authorities, and limiting the bureaucracy and red tape. And so outside of the other things that sound really bad and are going really bad in DC, there's some things that we're aligning with. And these programs like this is combining the programs, not having all these 7 separate reporting mechanisms and audits. This really gives them the actual example rather than the talking points. It's like in Oneida, we're doing things very well. We've been doing them well for a while, and this expansion to this area, 477, really exemplifies that ability. When you let tribes do the things they can do, we do it better than the government. So I think that's just another example we can bring to DC on how we can further expand some of these initiatives, especially with the budget coming forward and all the rescission bills coming forward. I think that's going to be a huge consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If there's no other questions from the community, I'll go to community member Nancy Barton. You got 5 minutes. Thank you.
I wanted to comment on the information that you included in the packet, and I sure do appreciate that. It justifies what you do. The numbers are important. I always look for those, and also where they come from. And these are from the 2020 census, and they show where we're at. And this is on page 105 of the report of 384. And some of it is very interesting because it says strategically we can develop programming that will increase household income, starting with the immediate needs and moving forward progressively. The statistics from the 2020 census show a clear disparity when comparing residents' household demographics and income of American Indians on the reservation. Almost half of American Indian families have many households with only one income, which reduces the median annual income. And it gives the statistics of the Oneida Reservation, 71,000 compared to 98,000 of all incomes. The lower income results in a higher poverty rate of 15% of families on the Oneida Reservation compared to 3.8% of the public. And I find that really significant, and I like information like this because it's concrete. It came from an outside agency. It's accurate. It shows us this, where we're at, and so our people struggle. They still live in poverty, even though there are opportunities. People live from week to week, and especially those people with small children. And so I sure do appreciate all the work that you guys are doing to hold those families up and that they do have a place to go. One thing, again, of course, I want to mention is the communication piece of all of this. People know that that exists over there, but they don't know specifically what programs. And so, however that can happen, the car repairs, whatever else was listed in here, I sure would appreciate it because the more people that access it, the better. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, Nancy. You go to Rolinda.
Good morning. In reviewing an email from the grants accounting manager, it was identified that there is potentially a concern with the waivers section not being completed. And I see in the plan, the waiver section is still blank. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rolinda, for raising the concern. Looks like they're noting it. Go.
I can answer that. Thank you, Rolinda. So we met with, we've been working with Ida Doyle. She's our regional representative from the BIA, meeting with her regularly, sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week. And we did ask about the waivers. On page, to be able to keep the current funds that we have and any previous funds. So On page, let's see, on page 96 of the packet, there's this statement, the general provisions and programs to be integrated. So on the left-hand side is funding source and program. So Department of Labor, for example, and the special notes, it says, as permitted by law, any remaining funding that is unspent and integrated within the plan and funding for 26 and beyond will be included as the program continues to be funded. So that ensures that we're not losing any funding. We can keep all of the, I think, for example, it's about $3 million in CCDF funding, childcare funding that was not previously spent. That allows us to get permission to keep those funds and not have to liquidate them by any specific date in 2026, 27, or 28. So that's covered in there, unless there was something more specific about the waiver.
All right, thank you, Jessica, for the response. Roland, did you have another question, or is your hand still up? Okay, thank you. All right, community member Kathy Metoxen, you got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. It all sounds nice and good and excellent and all that, but I always have a concern because of my personal experience in helping people, many, is that there's always that buddy system that we go up against, and depending on who you are and who your family is, and I will be saying that forever, I tire of who your family is and who you know and who all that, who's better than everybody else. And there's always that factor, no matter where you go, no matter where you look, there's always that factor. And you might be getting rid of, you know, a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. But is it also possible that it could be making it easier to dismiss people or to deny people? You know, those will always be my kind of questions, because it's happened so many times over the years, numerous times. And so that's always on my mind, is what's underlying everything. And I hope that we have grown. I know that we will always have that buddy system and best friends forever attitude around here, but at least I can say something about it. And whether anybody likes it or not, it's still a factor in many cases from my personal experience. Thank you.
All right, Nancy, thanks for your comments. Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Kathy. I think that's something that's always going to be in our community. And with this, what we've decided to do is actually expand the eligibility so that more families will be eligible. So for example, when determining eligibility for certain services, we were using the 200% of the federal poverty level. So for example, having a home of 4 people, you have to have at least, or you cannot exceed, I'm not exactly sure, $3,500 a month. So what we're changing with this to help make more families eligible is on page 108 of the packet, or 17 in the document. It talks about the eligibility, and what we're doing is we are increasing the eligibility to 85% of the state median income. So what that means is that rather than that family of 4 cannot make more than $3,500 a month, it's now $5,500 a month. So we're trying to we want to help more people, and that's the goal. You know, this is federal funding. It's not mine. It's nobody's here, but it's for everybody in our community. And even for childcare, for example, as long as, the child doesn't have to be a tribal member, as long as there's someone living in the home that's a family member, that's a tribal member, they're eligible for childcare funding. So, they live with a grandparent or, whoever they live with they may have a sibling that's a tribal member and they're not enrolled. They can still get childcare funded for them. So we're trying to expand the eligibility with this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jessica.
I know I already spoke, and I'd like to respectfully request another minute or two. I just found something in their report that I'd like to comment on and have some clarification on.
So I'll make a motion for an additional 2 minutes.
Thank
for
you.
Nancy.
Is there support? Supported by, Brian made the motion, supported by Marlon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
I'm gonna
abstentions,
refer
motion
to
carries.
page-
2 minutes, Nancy.
Thank you. Refer to page 113. And it says, the allowable activities will enhance soft and hard skills related to job search, acquisition, retention, not limited to time management, computer skills, money management, attendance, punctuality, accountability, positive work ethics. Allowable activities for employment include Oneida tribal culturally relevant activities, training and cash assistance related activities include participating in the Oneida Longhouse ceremonies, participation in Oneida cultural dances and ceremonies, diverse functions of seasonal cultural ceremonies, learning to speak Oneida fluently, and cultural activities and education services. So, I found that pretty alarming to see that in there. We've been having these conversations about the diverse population of people and what they practice on this reservation. Also to pay children to participate in ceremonies and other cultural related activities. I'm not sure that I'm altogether comfortable with that. We've had some decolonization activities in the past year, and it's like we're reversing that because people are being paid, title holders, to teach the culture. And so I'm real concerned about this whole part of this and who, is going to supervise that, or their hours you have to contribute. I just am really concerned, when you're paid to practice your religion, especially when you're a Native American, as far as I can remember back, that's being a sellout. Thank you.
All right, Nancy, your time has expired. Jessica?
Sure, I can answer that. Thank you, Nancy. So this part of the plan is referring to cash assistance. So anytime that a family comes in and they're looking for some type of cash assistance could be helping them pay for their auto insurance, helping them pay for their rent. Those would be some examples. The activities that we would expect in return are this list of different things. And so, for example, if they're participating in ceremonies, they're participating in, teaching others to speak, those are the cultural components of our list of things that we're going to still allow that family to be able to receive that cash assistance. So as long as they show proof that they're participating in that, we're going to allow them to be able to help pay their bill. So really that's what that's about. We're not paying them to learn necessarily, it's to pay a bill or that kind of service. And then also someone may be in college and maybe it's, UWGB, they're going to UWGB and they're taking cultural classes. As a student with a reduced income, they may need assistance with, their rent or security deposit. So this would be something as part of the list of things that we would say is acceptable to be eligible to receive cash assistance. Does that help?
Yep. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Otherwise,
I did have one more.
oh, go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate the recognition working on this. I definitely could not do it alone. I want to thank Brandon and Melissa for helping with the statistics and the direction. Jennifer Szabo and Jean Van Dyke have been extremely helpful in being at all the different meetings we've had with the BIA, as well as the staff over at Economic Support, the managers and the staff who helped write this. It was written, it was pre-written, and but really we had to start all over from scratch, kind of. So it wasn't just me; it was a really great team. And one of the things that our team wants to do, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but we received a $25,000 startup for the 477, and our BIA regional rep had recommended various tribes that we could go visit to be able to learn how they operate their 477 program and how they operate the financial aspect of it. So we are looking at traveling to Zuni tribe in Albuquerque. It would only be for one day, but it would be a day packed full of learning an overview of their program. It would also be learning their operations, how our accountants are going to be able to help us. So the travel would include our 2 accountants, possibly someone from self-governance, and a couple managers. But it's all coming from that that startup fund, that grant. So, or if we could have a preliminary approval, or so that's just wanted to put that out there too.
Thank you.
Or submit an e-poll before the fire drill, right? Or is that a weather alert?
Yeah, Mark?
Just a quick response. The travel request can move through Tina Jurgensen and through the chain of command. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. All right, I think at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a resolution titled Submission of the United Nations Public Law 102477 Plan to the U.S. Department of Interior.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Kirby, seconded by Larry. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, yeah, we'll go. All right, moving on to item O, adopt resolution titled Fiscal Year 2026 Revised Budget Consideration and Calendar. Larry?
Yes, I'll ask of the CFO to give insight. The revisions for reconciliation have necessitated lengthening the original aforementioned GTC meeting, which I believe was September 15th, but don't hold me to the date. We are asking the committee to consider an early November date as a consequence, and I'll throw out Monday, November 10th, if everyone can check their calendars so we get a quorum preliminarily. That is what I'll offer, and with that, turn it over to the CFO just to give recitation of the resolution briefly. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Relinda?
Good morning. Initial consolidation of the fiscal year 26 budget unfortunately identified a significant negative variance between sources and uses in the July 3rd BC work session. It was decided by the business committee to return the fiscal year 26 budget to the business units for reevaluation of their labor requests, their travel requests, and to ensure that budget tier 1 cost contingencies have been included in their fiscal year 26 budget. There appears to be some miscommunication on the fact that the budget tier 1 contingency considerations are intended to proceed into fiscal year 26. So the budget will be reopened. It was reopened right after that meeting We also contacted gaming and requested that they relook at their numbers. So the budget has been reopened. It will close on August 11th, and then a consolidation will be presented to the Business Committee on August 26th. We will need a continuing budget resolution, which is being worked on. We anticipate bringing that to the September 10th BC meeting. So you will see in red font the changes to the resolution. Item 1, the only increase allowed in fiscal year 26 budget requests is for the annual wage increase. In number 7, small numeral 2 has been added. There will be no vacant posted positions requested in the budget. Item number 10, the measures approved in in BC Resolution March 26, 25E, fiscal year 25 cost savings tool shall be included in the fiscal year 26 budget. And then addition of item number 11, travel in the fiscal year 26 budget shall be budgeted at the lesser of the amount budgeted in fiscal year 25 or the annual 2025 projected amount. These are considerations that are necessary to bring the sources and uses in balance. We have historically counted on prior year carryover to balance the budget. And as the treasurer has and I have indicated in the past, that is not a financially sustainable budget balancing option. We are blessed to have a positive carryover now, but as we're seeing in last year's roll-up, that prior year carryover was not available. So if there comes a day when we don't have prior year carryover, trying to balance the budget without prior year carryover will be a task. Thank you.
Larry?
Yes, thank you, Relinda, for giving that narrative. I'll just, if I could ask the chair, does that Monday, November 10th work with everybody's schedule? Probably won't be able to bull hunt that night, but Jonas, but by necessity, we need to expedite getting the budget before the membership. I know some prefer a Sunday, noting that that Tuesday is a holiday, and the availability of the Oneida Hotel was a factor. So hearing no objections, I'll offer a motion to adopt the resolution, noting a November 10th GTC meeting to be scheduled with the assistance of the tribal secretary. Thank you.
Support. All right, Larry makes the motion, seconded by Marlon, to adopt the resolution with the noted change. Oh, Kirby, sorry. Kirby seconds the motion. Noting the change in the resolution, because I know the resolution proposed dates in December. All right, with that discussion, go to Committee Member Nancy Barton. You got 5 minutes, thank you.
So the continuing resolution will come to this body in September, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so what is the longest amount of time that a continuing resolution has gone on? Because I don't remember the budget ever coming in November. Maybe it did. You know, we try to get it out as soon as we can in September, but now we're moving to December or to November. So, you know, does anybody remember that? I only go back so many years. I'm not a dinosaur, but that's one of my questions. Because if the budget gets to GTC, and, you know, I've said it before, we don't know what GTC is going to say and want and do. And there's something in this budget that they want or they want to go away. They have that prerogative. And precedent has been set in the past where something wasn't budgeted And people came forward and said, I want something. I don't know where that money came from. I'm assuming carryover or who knows. But I guess I'm looking at those kinds of questions, and that when members of GTC come forward and they say we want something and it's pertaining to the budget, and because it's not exactly in the packet, that it won't get called out of order because it has been done in the past. So I'm just looking at that, to clean that all up, and then to ask how long has a continuing resolution gone, you know, into January or into the next fiscal year, because there's some conversation over at the health center about this budget and money, and it's coming from providers, and it's very disturbing. And so I'm concerned. It affects me. Normally I'm worried about the big picture and all 17,000 of us. Now I'm gonna be worried about me. And so if I have to wait until the budget is approved, and that doesn't happen until January or April of next year, that affects my health and well-being. There's something that stops everything right now because there's no money, and we gotta wait. So those are my questions.
All right, thank you, Nancy, for your questions. Larry?
Work first or last question forward. Yeah, I'm not aware specifically at the clinic any limitations. That's all IHS money, so it should be, barring any directive from self-governance, business as usual. I'm not aware of any disruption, at least in the immediacy of grant flow to effectuate services, but that's a conversation with the GM to clarify with the given area. As to continuing resolution, a reasonable bridge of about 5 or 6 weeks we feel is not unreasonable. Certainly we would have preferred to come in on the September date. The roll-up rendered a arguably $38 million gap. That is a significant reconciliation to which we know the areas will work diligently to match sources and uses as it's prescribed in the finances law. Finance department area work diligently to facilitate that. So we'll look for that reconciliation to be executed, not without sacrifice. The other dimension that we're up against is really distilling down where the reduction of federal grant dollars will impact given program areas. That's still a work in progress. We have had communication from NAFOA, Native American Finance Officers Association, of some exemptions and or carve-outs. Leadership in Indian country worked diligently to make that happen. So we're not detrimentally impacted, such as Medicaid work requirements, certainly SNAP work requirements. That is all being developed in terms of the administrative rules and the communication from that. So it's a work in progress. We're hopeful that in November we get an adopted budget, but if we don't, we'll carry on under the continuing resolution until we have prerogative from the membership. So to speak to a specific budget that went well past, this is before the, I'll call it stipend era, we went, I believe it was 7 or 8 months before we had an adopted budget. And I hope that doesn't happen, but if that's the prerogative of the membership, we will follow that accord and bring forth on the 10th a balanced budget. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Larry. Joanne?
Thank you. Before the adoption of the Budget and Finances Law and previous versions of that law, we've had continuing resolutions that have extended an entire fiscal year into this next fiscal year. With the adoption of this law, the Business Committee must adopt a continuing resolution if they cannot call the General Tribal Council together before the end of the current fiscal year. And that resolution can stay in place only for 3 months. If we're unable to get a budget in front of the General Tribal Council within that 3-month period, then the Business Committee may adopt the budget for the nation. That's occurred, I believe, twice. It was during COVID, when we couldn't call the General Tribal Council together. In all other circumstances, we've been able to get the budget before the members in order for them to review and approve or take other further action. It should be noted that, yes, members at a General Tribal Council meeting have been able to propose modifications to the budget, which include deleting and/or adding items. Those actions generally require multiple reviews during the meeting. One, to identify whether or not it's in order, having received sufficient notice or review in order to be before the General Tribal Council. The second is whether or not it's financially feasible, meaning there have been no actions taken in reliance on the budget that you couldn't reduce the budget by 100% in any specific area, or whether or not there are funds available to allocate towards that activity. The General Tribal Council has taken two separate actions regarding that. One, to identify specific items in the budget to reduce, to make way for that particular activity, or two, to allow the treasurer and the chief financial officer a certain amount of leeway in order to make amendments to the budget to adjust and account for that new budget expenditure. Last but not least, there have been some additions to the budget for which the treasurer has, not specifically Mr. Barton, but a treasurer has opined that there are funds, sufficient funds available to cover that particular amount. It hasn't been large sums of monies, upwards of $50,000. I believe an example was relocation of log cabins to their current site, Amelia Cornelia Culture Park. So to that extent, there have been delays in presenting the budget. Under the current law, that delay can only extend for 3 months before some action must be taken in order to stabilize the government. And the Business Committee has always managed to get in front of the General Tribal Council within that 3-month time period in order for the General Tribal Council to adopt the budget. There are conversations throughout the nation regarding impacts to the budget, whether it's the nation's budget or whether it's the impact of the federal budget on the nation's activities. We are still following through on all of those in regards to the bill that was just passed, reconciliation bills that are moving forward now, and how they're impacting the nation. Significantly, the health center is impacted by any changes to Medicare and Medicaid funds. We've reported on that on multiple occasions, made sure that the General Tribal Council was aware, including employees of the nation are aware of those potential impacts. So it is probably something that we're likely to hear for the next several months as Congress and the President go through this process of identifying funds and cuts to federal activities. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Joanne. Relinda?
Thank you. Fiscal year 2008, the entire fiscal year was on a continuing budget resolution. In fact, there was not an approved budget for fiscal year 2008. We went right to fiscal year 2009 and adopted a budget for fiscal year 2009 in January 17th of 2009. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion on the adoption of the resolution, November 10th? All right, seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to item P, enter e-poll results into the record regarding the BC Resolution 7125A, support of the nomination of Jonas G. Hill to the National Indian Gaming Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Larry, supported by Kirby. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The next section is appointments, and I would ask to defer these items till after exec.
So moved.
Motion by Brandon.
Second.
Second by Larry. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to travel reports. Item A, accept the travel report for Councilman Jennifer Webster, Self-Governance Travel Advisory Committee in Washington DC, December 15th through the 17th of '24.
So moved.
Motion by Brandon,
Support.
supported by Kirby. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item B, accept the travel report for Councilman Jennifer Webster to the Self-Governance Travel Advisory Committee, Washington DC, March 18th to the 20th of 2025.
So moved.
Motion by Kirby, seconded by Marlin. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item C, accept travel report for Councilman Jonas Hill to the Federal Budget Impact Lobby Efforts in Washington DC, June 2nd through the 5th of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kirby, seconded by Brandon. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, discussion on this one? Okay, go ahead, Danielle.
Could I respectfully request that Chairman Hill be added to this travel report? Nothing changes in the travel report, but he was also on this travel. Thank you.
Moving Kirby and Brandon.
Yes.
All right. Kirby and Brandon agreed to include myself in the travel report. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Item D, accept the travel report for Councilman Kirby Metoxen and Jonas Hill to the Native American Tourism of Wisconsin 2025 Conference in Lac du Flambeau, June 16th and 18th. Motion by Larry,
Second.
second by Brandon. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions.
Abstain.
Motion- One abstention,
Yeah.
Kirby.
Chairman,
Motion carries. Brandon?
just to the, what Danielle's comment, there were a number of us on that travel report, and I necessarily don't want to be on the report, but just to note that there's a lot more that happened. That's why I necessarily didn't really want to be on the report. There was a lot that happened. And I kind of say that the report is kind of short in length, and that just to reflect that there's a report coming from PACE, LL, Capstone, or that's coming forward. So that's kind of where I didn't want to seem like I wasn't there either. So that's kind of the context of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brandon. All right, did we vote on the motion for the NATO? Yeah, Kirby,
we did, yeah.
yep. Okay. All right, moving on to travel requests. Item A, enter e-poll results in the record regarding the approved travel request for Vice Chairman Brandon Yellowbird Stevens, the National Republican Senatorial Campaign event in Washington DC, July 20th to 22nd.
So moved.
Motion by Marlin, supported by Kirby. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Now to the add-on request for myself to the 2025 DCCC Leadership Circle Weekend in La Jolla, California, July 31st through August 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Marlin, supported by Kirby. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. That brings us to new business. Item A, CDC 23-115, material staging area, approve the approval package for CDC 23-115 material staging area. This is a request from the organization. They're proposing to use the conservation area on County U to expand that, where normally the wood and wood chips from tribal projects are stored and utilized by tribal members, expanding the acreage out there to include soil, essentially, storage and area, because currently we don't have an area that accepts soil. There was the place that was formerly used over by the Oneida Cemetery across the street on Adams Drive, but that was shut down some time ago. And then, so now they're looking for an area to be able to deposit soil from our construction projects and stuff like that to be able to be stored until use on the reservation, according to the packet.
So I'll make a motion for the approval of the CC approval package, number 23-115, material staging area.
Support.
Brandon makes a motion, supported by Marlon. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to item B, review and accept the closeout research project for the Oneida Family Caregiving Research Study and approval for publication of separate manuscripts. I think there was some additional actions requested. Like in accordance with BC Resolution 5819A, the Oneida Comprehensive Health Division Director recommends that the Oneida Business Committee approve the closeout report and request for publication of the future manuscripts with review by Oneida Community Health Center Division and consider the additional recommendations to clearly protect the nation's data sovereignty and samples of the participants in this research request from the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health, led by Principal Investigator Dr. Mary Winman.
So moved.
So motion by Brandon.
Second.
Seconded by Marlon. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item C, research request for University of Wisconsin-Madison, defining a treatable mechanism of premature vascular aging and arteriosclerosis stroke. This is on page 281 of the packet.
I'll make a motion to approve the research request.
Motion by Marlon.
Support.
Supported by Kirby. Discussion? Marlon?
I just want to make a statement. You know, we got about 4 research requests here, I believe, today, and I know we have a lot of other studies that go on throughout the community. I guess the question that I would have is, where can we get a comprehensive list of some of the studies that are being currently utilized right now or being done in the community? And then how can we, it would be helpful for me to see how they're overlapping. If some of these studies are helping other studies, and to just help me tie up some of those loose ends, because some of these research studies, you know, they're very in-depth, and sometimes I even have to Google words just to try to understand what they're looking at. These are being done by medical professionals, PhDs, and doctors. So if there's something that can be done, I think that would be helpful me in seeing what kind of studies are being done, because if somebody were to come up to me in the community to be truthful, I wouldn't be able to give you a real clear answer. So that would help me out.
All right, thank you for your comments, Marlon, your questions for, I guess, future follow-up. Just being able to keep a log of this information. I see online, Carrie.
Good morning. Thanks for the time on your agenda. I agree, Councilman Marlon, that there are a lot of things happening. I just want to mention I'll be presenting today at the Oneida Comprehensive Health Community Meeting. I'm in the car actually on the way up to Oneida to at least review some of the Alzheimer's disease work. But I see Debbie Danforth is on, and we provide to Debbie a list of the different projects and how these are influencing or how they impact the Oneida Nation. So maybe I'll turn things over to Debbie to answer your question.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Debbie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had previously been bringing all of the quarterly updates of the research projects that are currently underway within the Comprehensive Health Division to the Business Committee for review. And granted, because of the complexities of a lot of these research projects, the Business Committee previously asked if we would only bring the closeout reports once the research is completed, unless it was to request permission to publish the findings of those results. And so we do meet with all of the researchers that are specific to the health area. We meet with them on a quarterly basis, and we get a consolidated list of the projects, where they're at, what they're doing, what's being published, where the presentations are being made. When they ask for permission for poster sessions that are done both in the area, both nationally and internationally, we have a number of research projects that have been presented internationally. And so we have that list, which we can provide for you, but we've previously been told, just bring us the closeout report. That's all we want to know. So if you want us to continue to provide an update on a quarterly basis, we can do that. Or we can just bring you the summary of the names of the projects and what they're actually doing research on. It's up to you.
All right, thank you, Debbie. Brandon?
Yeah, so it's maybe it's just a body of thought. I think what Marlon's going to is just, so we have a list to say, here's, I can go in and I can see everything. And then to my point I always bring up is, all right, we had this study. Since the inception of this study, we were able to reduce the effects or implement initiatives that helped reduce, the impact. And I think, so we have measurable success, can gauge it with the particular initiatives to see if they actually work. And so, like the diabetes program, when the diabetes program was initially instilled, we decreased diabetes, or whatever measurement we had that we saw measurable change. And so we can look back and say, we did X, Y, and Z, and it actually worked. And so I think this is kind of where just that body of thought is. We can look at things and say, we are doing things in a particular way that are changing people's lives. And to be able to celebrate that, I think that's the biggest thing. To be able to celebrate the small successes sometimes is really helpful. Because otherwise it just seems health center is just doing some stuff and it's doing some impacts, and we can't really celebrate that from the community, because there's some really great initiatives coming out of there, and we would like to be able to look at them and celebrate them on the higher level to say our community health initiatives are making a significant impact, and here is what it looks like from 1990, 2000, 1980. So I think those are the kind of the school of thought that I see where Marlon's going, is to be able to make measurements that we can successfully celebrate certain aspects. Thank you.
We can include a listing of all of the research studies and the progress of where they're at in our quarterly report that we present to the Business Committee from the Comprehensive Health Division.
All right, thank you, Debbie. Carrie?
And I'll just add to that briefly. This is a really important point about how do you get out information to community about the impact of the work. I don't want to gloss over that, because it's so incredibly important. The reports to the Business Committee are one way, but we as a program are trying to make some initiatives to actually do sort of this, multiple format approaches. Using Gully WESACs as a forum. I'm presenting to Oneida Comprehensive Health Community Meeting today. Grateful to Debbie for that opportunity. We're going to go on what was previously Facebook Live. So we're going to try to do this in multiple ways, but what I'm hearing are very much agree and aligned with this idea that getting information out is incredibly important as sort of to close the loop, as saying, look how Oneida has contributed and how Oneida Health is improved by participation in this work. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Carrie. Yeah, and I think it's, important with a lot of this research being done, like today's request is essentially the, I guess, third iteration of the study for the stroke prevention. First one starting with the elders, now they're in the middle of, or wrapping up the kind of middle-aged community members, and then where it goes from there, obviously, I think is the next step. So we're on actually step 3. I would say step 3 of this particular research area within our Oneida community. And I think they're noted that there are several, successful, I guess, identification of some issues, and that's why the research is continuing to be requested for the next stage, into the next stage. So at least in the stroke prevention one here that's before us, that's kind of the case with that one. It's started here, went to there, and now we're on the kind of the third step of this identification and moving into the mechanisms, defining treatable mechanisms and for premature vascular aging and arteriosclerosic stroke. All right, with that, I'll go to community member Nancy Barton. You got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good try with that word. What I learned about this, because I was here when this first started, there were several requests from UW-Madison that came forward, and I wanted to know why. Why come to us? Why go to Indian tribes? And were they using all 11 tribes in the state of Wisconsin? And I never got an answer to that. And so through the years, while I've been up here, it's turned into diabetes, it's turned into stroke, it's turned into a lot of other things. And at the end of the day, I wanted to know why. And I found out why. It's the pharmaceuticals that have the money that fund the research in order to continue to make pharmaceuticals. At the end of the day, that's the bottom line. So on page 298 of this report, Transforming Stroke Risk Factors in a High-Risk Native American Population, on the bottom of this report, it says, health wellness coaches will work with Oneida Comprehensive Health Division to schedule research participants into appropriate food sovereignty programs. So I thought that was very interesting because as the author of the petition for the pantry, food on this reservation has always been one of my pet projects. And so through reading, once again, the petition, we've got several products that we do use, our buffalo, our farm, but we don't have any corn, and we do not have a food sovereignty program. So how can you put that in this report as something that you're doing when it doesn't exist? So those are just, some of my comments about some of the information that comes forward with these, and I do agree with Brandon 100%. To me, when I get these reports, I'm looking for how many people did you survey? How many people are you working with? What were the results before? What are you doing to mitigate, enhance? And then at the end of it, what is the result? So, through this, I've got, a lot of resource material from other places. And so, I'm concerned about some of the material that's listed in this report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nancy. And I guess as far as the food sovereignty program, correct, there is no food sovereignty program. It's an approach, not a program. So we do have several entities within the nation that focus on agricultural, and altogether it's a systems approach to be able to provide food in our community, whether that's through our own programming or also the community aspects as well. All right, I see, is it Carol online?
Yes, Carol Mitchell, and I work with Debbie Danforth and then Dr. Robert Dempsey with the stroke prevention program. And thank you for, we apologize for our I guess, writing that, but it's a food sovereignty approach then. And what we've seen is really with pairing elders with coaches that we are seeing changes that are very favorable as far as weight loss, changes in lipids, changes in blood pressure that are more favorable to what the American Heart Association targets are for those health measures. And so we're hoping with this project to build on what we've been doing with the coaching and being able to refer people or just make sure that the people that are coming into the project know about all the wonderful food resources there are for healthy eating and nutrition that Oneida has developed. So part of the project would be just trying to track how our research participants are using those programs, as we also look at how they're engaged in the exercise programs with the health wellness coach and also those measures of health.
All right, thank
Which
you,
is
Carol.
okay, thank you.
Carrie?
Yeah, thank you. I want to maybe address the question about why Oneida. It was about 10 years ago, actually, that someone from Ancoa, a group from Ancoa, crossed paths with us and asked the university folks to come to Oneida and to provide some education and some resources around Alzheimer's disease, because they recognized that there was a need in the community. And this over time has led to research. So the first research proposals didn't start until about 4 years after we started conversations with Oneida. And I'm proud to say that none of it is supported by pharmaceutical companies. It's all supported by the National Institutes of Health or by our university program. So I'll just speaking for the Alzheimer's disease program, at least, we do not work with pharmaceutical companies to come in and, in a sense, basically, I think their history, their track record shows that some of them have come in and used partnerships with communities who are under-resourced as a way to develop their own resources. So again, just speaking for us, I'm proud to say that we have only used NIH funding. I think the same is true for my colleagues in the stroke prevention study too. But.
All right, thank you. Carol?
Yeah, I was just going to comment as well. Yes, our funding has been from the Wisconsin Partnership Program, and then also internal funding from the Department of Medicine and Department of Neurological Surgery. And most recently, now we just received funding from the American Heart Association.
All right,
and we also had been invited by Ancoa, is how we got started working with the program. Thank you.
All right, thank you both for the clarifications. Any other discussion from the committee? If not, we do have a motion on the floor by Marlin, supported by Kirby. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to item D, research request for University of Wisconsin-Madison Community Placed Engagement Sites Project, COPES. Starts on page 291 of the packet. Kirby?
Yeah, I would motion to approve this, but there is a recommendation that the business committee include a stipulation that all information collected within the boundaries of the Oneida Nation will be the property of the Oneida Nation and may not be released for any form to individuals, agencies, or organizations throughout further approval.
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
All right, Kirby makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Marlin. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, thank you everyone for that. Item E, research request from University of Wisconsin-Madison, transforming stroke risk factors into high-risk Native American populations through culturally competent nutritional program.
Make a motion to approve the research request.
Motion by Marlon. Is there support?
Second.
Seconded by Brandon. Discussion, Marlon?
Just a couple questions, and since this used to be my old wheel well here, when I was at the pantry, whenever we were doing the tribal elder food box, I was trying to start something in regards to getting a group of elders that wanted to cook, how to use some of the things in there, because some of those things, I mean, you just, it'd be hard to use. You'd have to literally look it up. But in regards to that, so I have questions, and is this, since this is kind of newer, is it going to be like a siloed approach? Are they going to be networking with some of the programs and services we already have? Will they look to network or build relationships with the Great Lakes Intertribal Food Coalition? What is the approach going to be? And then I guess what is the short and long-term goals of it? Because I mean, I already think that food is medicine. This is just going to just prove that fact if the study is done correct. So it's just some of the questions that I have.
All right, go ahead, Carol.
Sure, great comments and questions. Yeah, so that really is our goal, is to really be able, through kind of health measures, all of our participants will have a health assessment with Dr. Dempsey, and that's where he'll take a height, weight, blood pressure, and then also go through the health history. And there's a little stroke risk factor quiz that he does with participants. That's from the American Heart Association, and they get to keep that form so they can have that conversation with their healthcare provider. And then also he talks to them based on those risk factors. These are some things that you can work on. They also have an ultrasound done of the main arteries in the neck called the carotid, and they take blood from the heart to the brain. And we're able to image those and see if we see any early changes in the wall that might indicate that cholesterol is already starting to lay down in those arteries. And again, what are some things we can do to kind of halt that process? And then all participants will meet with the health wellness coach, who is an Oneida employee. And our coach then helps with what the doctor kind of showed that they can maybe have the opportunity to work on to help improve their health. We'll refer them to all of these existing Oneida health programs. And then through interactions with the health wellness coach, we'll be logging how many times somebody accesses the food elder box, takes a cooking class, kind of talking to them about their diet, what they're eating, as they move through the program. And the hope really is that by eating healthy, returning to the cultural foods, that we can see a change in weight, in blood sugar levels, in blood pressure, and going back also to Oneida exercise programs, group activities, that all of that can help change and transform health is what it's really about.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the response. Any other questions from the committee? All right, go to community member Nancy Barton. You got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how you can approve a research study with a food sovereignty program that doesn't exist. And you're talking about doing a study about what's available. We have the food distribution program, which, you know, we used to call commodities, the food pantry, the food box, and food stamps. And after that, we have the orchard and we have the farm. And so to, you know, say switching to a indigenous diet, I'm not sure, you know, where you are assuming that people are going to get some of that food. I accepted the card for the meeting on Sunday, and when I went to the one stops, there's no meat in there. there's no meat from the farm in there. And I was one of the, not the first, but one of them, people to go into those one stops. So, you know, you'd think things would roll the way they're supposed to, but of course they don't. And then there's signs in every one stop regarding the shortage of corn. And, you know, one of my favorite statements is you can't even grow corn. We've got land, tractors, everything we need, and we can't grow corn. So there's some
As in usually
serious,
just playing around with it.
disconnect. I don't know how you can measure something and approve something for a program that doesn't exist. You know, and a wellness coach, you know, I'm not sure how they can even implement something that doesn't exist, other than referring them to programs and, you know, to the fitness center. So this seriously is alarming to me. You know, what you're gonna do, how can you do it with something that doesn't exist? The farmer's market, gardening, there is no gardening and nutritional education on this reservation. And so I'm concerned about this report.
All right, thank you for your comments, Nancy. I'll call on Carol for some response.
Yeah, I just did want to share, yeah, we will be referring people to the existing Oneida programs, resources, and then we have shown just in our first 12 months of interacting with a coach with our previous project, that people that interacted more with a health wellness coach did lose more weight. So part of the research is measuring kind of these health measures that go along with what they're reporting for what they're doing with exercise, how much they're working with a coach, and that it's changing some of the health measures that we care about.
All right, thank you. All right, any further discussion on the topic? All right, if not, there's a motion by Marlon, seconded by Brandon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. All right, thank you everyone for that. Debbie?
Thank you. I just wanted to add that we are having a community meeting today at noon at the Oneida Health Center, where there will be a presentation on some of the research that is currently underway. There's also a presentation on Thursday called Integrating Traditional Teachings in Modern Medicine. That is also some education that's going to be presented on the current work that's being done by Dr. Dempsey, and that is at the Amelia Cornelius Culture Park. I also wanted to just add as a point of interest that the number of research projects that we're currently working with is not just for the benefit of the researchers that you see online right now, but their work also incorporates a number of Indigenous researchers into their projects that they actually take members of the United Nations that are currently enrolled in the school. They take members of other tribal nations that are enrolled at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and work with them to assist them in the research that's actually being done. So the number of Indigenous researchers that we're trying to promote to make sure that the research that's done is not just done by university systems, but it can be done by Indigenous researchers that are learning and getting their feet wet, so to speak, from the very beginning in doing and conducting some of these research projects. So I just wanted to add that.
All right, thank you, David, for your additional comments. All right, with that, we'll move on to the last item under new business. I'll entertain a motion to defer the financial contingency plan, motion by Larry, to the September 24th regular business committee meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Marlon. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. All right, it's just about the 11 o'clock hour. We have some scheduled items for executive session, and also noting that we did not get to the operational reports that were scheduled for 9:30. So I guess we'll look at taking those up later this afternoon when we come out of executive session. Looking at Executive. I guess executive session probably reports probably around 1:30, 1:30, 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll get to the operational reports. With that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Kirby, seconded by Larry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We are now in executive session.